y'all ever watch a movie sequel before you watch the original?
That happened to me with Shanghai Nights, the sequel to Shanghai Noon, with Owen Wilson and Jackie Chan.
I'm pretty sure I saw Indiana Jones 3 before 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Last Crusade was on heavy rotation on TBS before I saw Raiders.
Numbered sequels, though?
Oh, numbered sequels?
They have to be numbered? Come on.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, Lethal Weapon.
Lethal Weapon 2. The
only Fast and Furious movie I've seen is the latest one. I haven't seen 1 through 9.
Yeah, I just asked because I'm thinking of going to see Nosferatu.
Oh, nice!
Haven't seen Nosferatu yet.
Oh, you got us. Oh, welcome to Insert Credit. Fix your hearts or die. This is episode 373 of the Insert Credit Show, where everything is rigorously sourced and the points are essential. I'm Alex Jaffe, and one of my favorite games to play with the sound off while I might listen to something else is Mount & Blade Warband.
I don't know what that is. I'm Frank Cifaldi, and a game I like to play with the sound off. I don't do that, like as a rule, generally, but I have made an exception while grinding. In games that might require grinding. And I usually use that as a rare excuse to put on a podcast.
I'm Ash Parrish, and my answer is similar to Frank in that I don't typically play with the sound off, but if I do, it's because I'm grinding something. So Infinity Nikki, I don't typically have the sound on while I'm, making my pretty little outfits. But yeah, that's because it's like a second screen game, so I'm watching like The Dropout or something.
Yeah, once you've listened to that soundtrack for 100 hours, it's time to put something else on.
Yeah.
I'm Brandon Sheffield, and for me, it's definitely mostly second screen games. Like all my mobile stuff, is sound off. But to go beyond that, Picross.
Ooh, yeah.
I play a lot of Picross while listening to vintage radio broadcasts.
How do you get them, and what are they?
Well, vintage, it's like new wave radio programs from my youth.
I thought you were talking about
I wasn't talking like
40s.
40s, like The Shadow or something.
No.
Like newsreels.
That reminds me, though, my mom was in town, and she was talking about how she was listening to some Chopin, but she had to change it to some 40s music because she wanted something old-timey. And I was like, oh, you wanted something older than Chopin, so you turned on 40s music? She was very scandalized.
1840s? Actually, I don't even know when Chopin was around.
I think she wanted the older recordings, maybe, right?
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Yeah. No. She just meant old-time music, which when people say that, they generally mean the 1940s, even though it is clearly newer than Chopin. But Picross and Live 105 broadcasts, basically, from the 80s.
The new Netflix and chill.
I would defend your mother in this case, in that Chopin is timeless, whereas 40s music is timely.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. A lot of people have been asking me since we switched over to this credit system, what's going to happen to the guest question? Something we used to do a lot is we would give the win to a particularly charming guest so they could be involved in the next episode, so they could continue their involvement with the show. And what we're doing from here on out, unless I forget, is every guest is going to get their own bonus credit, which they will automatically redeem to introduce our very next episode to establish that sort of continuity. So our first question this week comes from last week's guest, Merritt K.
Yeah, they get one free play.
Yes. So Merritt K spends her free play credit to ask, which forgotten 90s platformer mascots do you think will never get a cash-in nostalgia-baiting revival?
Oh, never.
Awesome Possum. Awesome Possum, because Awesome Possum was Tengen, which is Atari Games, which is now owned by Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers is not going to lift a finger to do any of this old stuff. So Awesome Possum is gone forever.
Once you kick Dr. Machino's butt, what worlds are left to conquer?
That's right.
And Alexander wept.
Right.
Boogerman's a good one. The EA ones, like Green Dog. Green Dog's EA, right? No.
Well, I disagree that, like, I think EA being like one of the only independent companies with a back catalog could at any point shift business stuff, right? Whereas,
That's true.
What did you say right before that? I thought it was really good.
Boogerman?
Boogerman, yeah. Boogerman is a great one because there was an attempt at that. There was a Kickstarter.
Yeah, in 2013.
That failed.
Yeah. Nobody wants that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Ristar, however you pronounce that. Shit.
I think it's possible. There could be a Ristar. Ristar could make a he'll show up in compilations probably.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it'll have like a big nostalgia play, but you never know.
Well, I feel like that one, similar to EA, like they could decide, for example, as a weird business strategy to start kind of data easting it, like licensing out their IP for people to make their own games. So I could see Ristar being among them because Sega is the Japanese equivalent of EA, like the last one standing that has a large back catalog and owns it all.
Yeah,
I can't imagine there's too many people chomping at the bit for a new Ristar, though.
No.
Oh, there are some.
I would say there's more nostalgia for Ristar than there is, say, Wild Woody.
True. Yeah, the Sega Soft stuff is pretty unlikely, but still possible. Still possible. I was recently playing Congo on the Saturn, and it's pretty.
Is this a licensed game for the movie?
Michael Crichton's Congo?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it is?
Congo, the movie, The Lost City of Zinj, it's called.
Huh.
I don't want to spoil it for my conversation that I had with John Lenneman that people will be hearing later, but it does, as far as I can tell, the first black protagonist in a first-person shooter.
Oh.
Nice.
1996.
Or Tim Curry in that one too?
No. It is pretty much only the one guy who you play as.
Eddie?
He's
Eddie.
not from the movie. He's not from the movie. It's just an actor they hired.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
It's based on the literature Congo.
Right.
Inferior moving pictures Congo.
Yeah.
I have no feelings about either of those things.
Yeah.
I love that movie. I haven't read that book though.
4K Blu-ray just came out.
I wouldn't be surprised if, to pick up a later mascot, although this was specifically about 90s platformers, I don't think we're ever going to see Sackboy again now that Astrobot exists.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, it's possible though that we'll see Sackboy. I think we'll see Sackboy in like retrospectives,
PlayStation All-Stars 3 or some
All-Starsy
shit.
type things. Sackboy can be trotted out at any time, but maybe not featured again. Yeah.
No Knack 2 or Knack 3 rather.
I don't know.
Is Knack a mascot?
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, there could be a Knack, but I don't think it was. It wasn't part of a zeitgeist at the time when people were trying to do a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
So I think the nostalgia will be lesser. So that might be a good one.
Anything that's like stuck on PS2 that hasn't come back yet.
Yeah.
Is done.
Yeah.
That sounds about right to me.
Yeah, Malice is probably not going to come back.
Yeah.
Malice ain't coming back.
No.
Whiplash, not coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Is Shadow the Colossus a platformer?
Yeah, but not a mascot platformer, I wouldn't say.
I mean,
who's the mascot?
Wander, isn't that his name? Or
yeah.
Ico?
Yeah, but it's like not. I feel like it's got to be named after the
Are
protagonist.
humans mascots?
Yeah, I wonder.
Well, Mario.
Well, we know Mario's not really a human because we've seen him in New Donk City side by side with actual humans.
Right.
He's some sort of a Earth 2 kind of a guy.
He might be a gnome. Do you think Mario's a gnome?
I wouldn't say no.
I think he's a Mario.
Yeah.
I think he's his own thing.
He's his own.
He's his own
Well,
thing.
that's interesting because he's in New Donk City and with other humans, but Pauline still looks like that, and she looks more like Mario than she does the other citizens of New Donk City.
She's a hybrid.
Sure.
Yeah.
So this is like Neanderthals and early humans like mating. Okay,
Oh,
I
yeah.
see.
Yeah. It's on the Zelda timeline.
I mean, as established in Yoshi's Island, Mario was originally from the realm of the Mushroom Kingdom as delivered by the stork. And then something happened that took him to Brooklyn, New York.
Oh, yeah, that's
so
right.
Pauline would be a human, but Mario wouldn't.
Forgot about that.
Yeah.
That's important information.
It is. You got to check the Mushroom Kingdom Historia here.
Yeah, we got to get Super Mario Broth, the person who owns
Yeah,
that account.
I would
Super
love that.
Mario Broth. Come
Super
on,
Mario
insert
Broth.
credit.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, I might reach out to that guy, actually. That's time. All right. Thank you very much, Merritt. Time to discuss the hard-hitting news of the day.
There's finally a 3DO core for the Mister that was previewed today.
Yes, let's talk about the 3DO.
The old switcheroo. Well, I do have things to say about the Switch too. Some people would say that it was a pretty content-free announcement, but there was some stuff in there. People were like, why did they release this news now when it was nothing, just to tell us that there's news later? But the answer to that is the fiscal year ends in March, and they had to do something before that. And if they're not going to really announce it until after that, they had to do something. So there's that part for like stock reasons.
And so like developers can say they're making games for the Switch too.
Yeah, which would be cool if they
would and answer our goddamn emails, which they won't, or they will decline to comment. God damn it.
Yeah, well, I don't have a Switch 2 dev kit, and I can't get one. So that's that's the information that I will give you at this time. But they did show using the new Joy-Con as a mouse. So that's something, and it's got 2 diodes in it, so it's possible that it could support some tilting understanding.
I have a question for you, Brandon. If we didn't already have an inkling of like that mouse functionality from all the leaks that had come before this, would you have clocked that little moment of them zooming around on that little surface as it being a mouse, or would you have thought it's something like, oh, we're just showing like a little like visual affectation for the Switch?
Well, I can tell you that is what is happened. That is what happened because I was unaware of those leaks.
Oh, okay.
And so
look at you.
I didn't know that those were there. I got it from it. 2 things, like first of all, it moving around, but second of all, they had like a little skate underneath it that it flips off of at the end.
Well, that's a cover. We had that for the original Switch.
Well, it wasn't a cover. It was because it was empty.
It's just
it's just an oval. No, there's a little oval that the Joy-Con slots into when you're mousing around.
Yeah, that's that. Anybody looking at that would also assume that that's that same little thing that you slide onto the original Switch things when you have it, attached to your wrist.
I did not assume because it was an empty oval. It had no bottom to it. You could see the table through that circle. So anyway, that was why I thought that it was that. And also, I do think, others may disagree, I think that this opens things up more for DS and 3DS emulation, so that they can finally sell that stuff, because while they did have a touchscreen before, Nintendo doesn't like when you can only do things in one situation. They want you to be able to do it universally, and you can't use the touchscreen when the Switch is docked. And so if there is now a direct pointer, then you can do stylus controls even when the Switch is docked. So there's no, of course, I'm really like reaching here, but it does set things up for it to be easier for them to do that. And one final stupid thing is that if there's a mouse, then there could also be a keyboard attachment, and then we could finally have the family computer and the Switch.
It's back.
Yeah.
Yeah, type in your programs. Yeah,
the family computer again. I think the Switch, it being called the Switch 2, is that's something. It's Nintendo's first sequel console, like with just a number after it.
To your point, numbered sequel, because Super Nintendo was definitely the sequel to the regular Nintendo.
Right. Yeah, but it's numbered sequel. It's interesting and kind of indicative of where innovation is going or is not going in the console space right now.
I think that's just Nintendo bowing to conventional standards at this point, with Xbox excluded, because I think and I spoke about this on the Vergecast, sorry. If this is a family console, this is a console for quote unquote normies. This is a console that like your grandma knows about more than anything else. And when you've got like your grandmas and your older folks and just general non-endemic gaming people buying stuff like this, like the way that they do for Nintendo products, I don't think they want to muddy the waters with like calling it like the Super Switch or the Switch Boy Advanced or some shit, because that has the big potential of confusing people,
right?
Like what they did with the Wii U. Like, is this a attachment to the Wii, or is a peripheral, or what is this? And because PlayStation has been very clear, 2, 3, 4, 5, and Xbox has not. I think it's much easier for them to just like, it's the Switch 2. We can avoid confusion, and now everybody will buy it knowing exactly what it is.
Yeah, well, it's obviously easier. There's no question there. It's just Nintendo has always been pretty adamant about some point of innovation for their new hardware release. And this, as far as we've seen, does not have a major hardware innovation that's new. And on top of that, they're naming it exactly the same as before. So it kind of does double down on this is just more of it, which isn't something that they've done in a long time. Not since the early days.
That's time.
I didn't get to say anything. Okay.
You want to spend a credit?
Okay, fine. I'll spend a credit.
Here we go.
Fine. Credit spent.
Credit spent.
Sorry, Frank.
I just want to share my perspective on announcements like this, which is like, I have not purchased a dedicated video game console since the PlayStation 3 because I have a computer. And every time there's a new console launch and there's just nothing to it, it just makes me think of like, I don't know, like Sony introduces in the 90s like a boombox that takes CDs except that they're triangles. And it's like, okay, but we already have CD players. It's like, yeah, but this is a new kind and they're triangles and we only play the triangle disc. And you're going to have to remanufacture your albums to be triangle disc exclusively on this thing. Like, okay, but I already have CDs. Like, yeah, but we have some albums that are only triangle disc. And so you have to do like, or like, I don't know, like, what was that 90s toy where you could buy like little cartridges that plays like
I remember
kids'
that.
album? You know what I mean? Like, like that's what consoles have been to me for a long time now. And the Switch 2, it just is just reinforcing that feeling for me because it's just like, it's a Steam Deck, but with way less games. You know, like, I just think like, it has felt like ancient technology for me for a long time that there are dedicated proprietary walled garden consoles. And I think like well within our lifetimes, that's going to be true. That's just not going to be a thing anymore. And it's just, it feels weird to me that we're still in this era of video games.
Yeah, I understand.
Console Marxist. I love it.
But I also like it.
All right. We've been accused of not talking enough about Nintendo on this show.
Oh, that's too
So
bad.
I feel like now would be a good time to kind of define what the characteristics of a Nintendo game are.
Are they Blue Sky now? Did they take that?
They might have.
What do you
Does any
mean?
Nintendo game not have blue skies?
Metroid.
Yeah, Metroid, F-Zero.
F-Zero is blue sky.
I guess it's got some.
It's got big blue.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think Blue Sky is still Sega. It's
Okay,
still Sega,
so
but
explain to me what that means. What does that mean in this context?
it's just games that have a sunny brightness and blue skies are heavily featured.
Yeah.
It was like a Sega stereotype because Outrun, Daytona, Sonic, all these games were very blue skies, while other devs and like Sony and Xbox were going dark and gritty.
Yeah, a vibrant, colorful, welcoming aesthetic.
Yeah.
At the risk of sounding horribly reductive, Nintendo is the family. It's for kids more than an Xbox or a PlayStation is.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
just has that approachability to it that the other consoles don't.
I think that's actually part of why consoles may continue to exist with walled gardens because parents, assuming Nintendo can get their crap together with the store, parents can give their kids a Switch and be like, you can. These are the okay games that you can have.
Yeah, they don't have to worry about like, I don't know, someone cursing someone out on Call of Duty or some shit.
Right, but now there's 500 porn games on the Switch. So
Yeah, but that is a Steam Deck and kids only account away from not being true anymore.
right, yeah,
True.
yeah. So what is a Nintendo game? It's polished in a certain way.
Unless it's one of the recent Zeldas.
Yeah, has a lot of the hard edges rounded off, for better or for worse.
There are no sharp edges at all in Nintendo games, seems like. Everything is soft and bezeled and curvy.
Yeah,
Like nobody has a strong chin in a Nintendo game. Everybody has like rounded features.
yeah. There's some sharp noses, I guess, in Breath of the Wild and ear points, kind of.
But that's about it.
That's why
A little bit.
Waluigi like stands out so much.
Yeah.
That's why Nintendo hates Waluigi. They don't use him in any of the canon Mario games.
And man, as I'm thinking about it, like Wario's like pointed mustache
Yeah.
things. Yeah. That's anti-Nintendo to have points.
And that's why they're evil. They're the ones,
Right.
the sharp ones are the bad guys. There's no sharpness in a Nintendo game.
That's why the most Nintendo character is Kirby.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a circle.
Wait, I have a question though. Like, so for sexual reasons, is Wario a monster?
Oh,
I think no.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either.
He's a freak.
He's basically a humanoid.
But he's not a monster.
Absolutely a freak, but no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Asking for a friend.
Yeah, no, this is good data collecting we're doing.
Talkie. Very talkie.
Nintendo games are talkies?
Yeah.
Oh, this is a red gem. That's worth 30 things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was trying to play that Super Mario Brothership RPG.
Mhm.
Oh, they talk a lot in that one, yeah.
Yeah, it was all the way back to this is the A button. You can hit the A button to confirm things. Don't forget that you can hit the A button.
And that kind of reinforces the whole like familyness of it because kids are dumb and they have like short attention spans.
Yeah, because we all know kids love reading basic text. It's one of their favorite things is just read a dry sentence.
Reading instructions.
I love that.
Or just to make it easier for, your grandma to play.
How many grandmas are playing Super Mario Brothership?
I do wonder.
More than you probably think, but, no offense to any grandmas out there, but I have a feeling that's why.
Yeah. It's an old perception about people's play habits and learning styles.
I was going to say that, like, especially you and me, Brandon, could easily be grandfathers at this point.
Yes.
So the idea of, like, grandparents playing video games, like, yeah, there's a lot of that.
You guys aren't that old.
I think about that. No, like...
We're not, but we could be. But not that we could be older. But we are in our 40s. We could have grandkids.
If we had kids when we were 20 and then they had kids when they were 20, we could be grandparents.
We'd be grandparents.
But I think the grandparents in their 40s are not people who are picking up video games for the first time.
You never know.
If your maybe not in your 40s, but if your grandkid, like if you're 50, comes up to you and says, "Grandma, I want to play Mario. Will you play Mario with me?" And if you're a decent grandparent, you say, "Of course."
It's a good point.
So
yeah. Have you ever been to a function, Jaffe, where there were a whole bunch of people from some other industry all together, and then they start being like, "Oh, you work on video games, huh? That must be fun. I played Pac-Man when I was 3." And then
I've been there.
That's all they got. They never touched the stuff again. So
whenever I rent a car from, I'll shout them out. Rent a Relic, Oakland, California.
Mm-hmm.
Good old Rent a Relic.
It's a very polite take on Rent a Rec.
And I rent actually mini like cargo vans from them for foundation stuff. Every time I go in, the guy behind the counter just names like an early 80s arcade game. He just kind of like there's no discussion anymore.
Yeah.
He just goes, Frogger.
Hey, centipede.
Yeah. That's right. That's one of those.
That's funny because I have that same exact interaction with him, except it's metal bands.
Oh, that's great. Guys, I've got some news.
Switch 2's canceled.
Yeah. Well, I really thought that we'd disconnected this, but I just saw a light go on here at the studio that I honestly never thought I'd see again, and I'm afraid it's time for an improv zone.
Oh my goodness.
What is that?
The Improv Zone is a beloved segment of Insert Credit, a Rent-A-Relic, if you will, where I cast all three of you in a scene that you have to improvise together.
Oh, I don't like this.
Until the buzzer sounds. Yeah,
no,
well,
exactly right.
We're all in it now. Here's what's going on. The three of you are members of the same MMO guild planning a major raid. Ash, you're the guild leader who takes this game extremely seriously. Frank, the other players don't know it, but you're in an isekai situation where you're trapped in the video game in real life. Brandon, you are secretly Elon Musk, who has joined this guild because you heard that Grimes was in it. You have 4 minutes.
Okay. Have you spoken to your role leaders about what it is that you have to do and where it is that you have to stand when we go in to fight this elder dragon? I need my DPS. You are marked with the purple X. My healers, you're going to be way in the back with the blue square. Don't anybody stand in the fire. Like 2 minutes after we do our first pull, we're going to rotate counterclockwise unless the boss does his super special vulnerability stack. Then we're going to rotate the other direction. But I need one healer to make sure that they are pocketing the off tank so we can make sure that we switch aggro correctly. Have you got that?
Question. I'm new here. I caught counterclockwise, and I didn't really understand anything else.
Well, okay, so you should get with your what role are you playing right now?
Knight, I think.
Knight is not a role.
I have a
That's
question.
a class.
I have a
But
question.
I
Okay.
have a sword. Okay. Does it
I heard
help?
there was a famous pop musician, wink wink, that you may have heard of, and
No.
that she was
This
in
is not the time
in
for
this
any kind of
guild.
like social things right now. We are super serious. We've got lockout in 2 days, and if we
Oh,
want to keep with the
I'm
progression,
I'm the
we
most
have
buffed
we have to down
that
this
anyone's
boss
ever been.
today.
I'm the strongest character that you've ever seen. These aren't cheats. I got this way all on my own. I am
Wait,
the
what's
most
your eye
powerful.
level?
I could solo this by myself. 5,000.
Okay, so
I know it's only supposed to go up to 100, but I'm 5,000.
can you tell me a little bit about your best in slot gear? Wait, what role are you?
Are you a knight too?
I'm a rogue.
Okay, so
Because
you need
rogues
to talk.
do it from behind.
No.
All right, that's a 50 DKP minus for you off the rip. We will have to have a table conversation when we're done here. But like I said, we're getting ready
What's
to
your
pull-
Twitter handle again? Or your X, the Everything app handle again? I just want to check just in case you need to be. I'm not going to say that I'm going to block you or anything, but just
question. This person keeps like sending me weird private messages. Is that
that's
allowed?
not. That's someone else.
Okay.
That's not me.
we're gonna table the side chatter right now because I need everybody to focus because like I said, this boss locks out at the end of the week and we need to be on our progression pace. So
Okay.
I made to make sure that everybody is on the same page about where they need to be, where they need to move, what kind of their rotations are. The rogue person, I need you to
Yes.
tell me what your rotation is. And what kind of DPS numbers you're pulling, Mr. Knight? I need you to
Rotation
make
360
sure.
degrees. All the rotation.
Mine is clockwise.
Me
I
and
caught that one.
Dittman are going whole hog.
Okay, Knight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I'm going to take you off the off tank roll. I'm going to put you in the back with the DPS. Can you respec into, instead of being a tank roll, can you respec into DPS? We still have time. We aren't in the dungeon yet. All you need to do is go take 50 magical sand to the vendor and you can respec right quick and then come right back. Can you do that for me?
Is that a function of the sword?
Knight,
Oh
if
my
you
God.
if you want to contact me offline on X, the Everything app, I can show you some ways to get stronger
This is a
really
raid
quickly. It's
progression
totally legal.
guild. So how did you get into this static right now? Because you are not instilling any kind of confidence that you should actually be here right now.
I know this sounds crazy, but I woke up here and I have this sword, and that's about all I know, other than I have to go clockwise.
That's time.
my God.
Great job, everybody. Terrific work. We'll be right back after a quick break. Improv Zone returns.
It takes a lot out of me.
Yeah, I won't make you do that very often, I promise.
Okay.
Ash, you were terrific.
Yes,
Well
it's
done.
true.
Thank you.
It's true.
Ash.
Yeah.
Am I the only one here who's actually done MMO rating?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's specifically
Absolutely.
why I cast you there. Welcome back to Insert Credit. It's time
Thanks.
for us to go for a quick swim in the old question hole. This is the part of the show.
It's wet? Wait,
Yeah.
no.
It's always been
Well,
wet, Frank.
now it's like a swimming hole. It's not that bad now.
This is the part of the show where we get one of the questions submitted to us at patreon.com/insert credit, where for mere $1 a month, you can get your own access to this question form. You can get monthly bonus episodes. There's like almost 60 of those at this point. It's a lot. And other fun and interesting surprises. This week's question comes from BluntForceMama, who asks, what is the optimal point in a game's life cycle, i.e. how long after release, to play it?
Oh,
That
well,
depends on the game, honestly.
Yeah, there's two things I would say. One is there gonna be, like, if DLC is announced, then, and it's a prominent sort of a game, then one answer is whenever they do the gold pack that has all the DLC.
Game of the Year
Mhm.
edition.
Game of the Year edition. And then the other thing is, do you think it's going to go on sale? We have a whole thread on the Insert Credit forums, which is called games that launch at $60 will soon become $20, and then 10 years later will become
Will be
$60 again.
$60 again.
And that's
what
that's
games
a fun.
fit on that?
Oh, tons. It's like games that
just sounds like something Nintendo would do.
It's games that launch at full price, go unappreciated at that time, have to deeply discount quickly, and then later get a reevaluation. It's like
or
that.
just get forgotten, right?
Or get forgotten. Yeah.
I bet Guardians of the Galaxy from Square.
Something like Harvestella from Square might fit that. Games that actually fit it are more retro game type things. But
I think a classic game that fits it is that Deadpool video game that suddenly blew up after the movie came out.
Right. What was the question?
So the question was,
cycles.
what's the ideal time to buy, right? In the life cycle.
Yeah.
I disagree with right when it's Game of the Year edition. Because then it's like, it's full price at that point, usually. I also kind of disagree with waiting until all the DLC is included, because like you don't even know if you like the game, Like, I don't know. Usually DLC is just some other game.
I think it depends. It
depends on the game.
Because like Final Fantasy 15, I wanted to play it. I knew I wanted to play it because it was a Final Fantasy. And waiting until the Game of the Year edition with all the DLC in it made sense, because if I like this, now I can have it all.
That's Final Fantasy 15 is a specifically unique case because of the way that DLC came out and the development cycle of that game, and specifically because that DLC was supposed to be interleaved in the actual game itself. But I understand at least the sentiment you were going for.
Mm-hmm.
I think the proper way to play Final Fantasy 15 is like unpatched. Whatever they shipped, it's kind of broken and weird. That's
Day
Final
one.
Fantasy 15. You don't know what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't watch the prerequisite anime.
Yeah, you woke up like you're in an
watch
isekai.
Kingsglaive? Oh,
Yeah,
wait.
exactly.
You weren't talking about Kingsglaive. You were talking about the actual anime. I forgot there was an anime too.
Kingsglaive. I was talking about
there was an
Kingsglaive.
anime too.
Oh, I know, but that's not mandatory watching, I don't think, to understand the story, whereas Kingsglaive is.
Yes and no.
I watched Kingsglaive after the fact and was like, oh, that's who that guy was.
Yeah. Yeah, the story of Final Fantasy 15, we could, it's so stupid. But
I love it.
Yeah,
and it makes me cry every time.
Really?
Yeah.
If you could tell me one thing that happened in it, then I would have learned one thing that happened in it.
Yeah. Do you love the story or do you love the characters?
I love both.
I can tell you one thing that happened, which is I beat the game and it shows like, I'm not going to spoil it, but it makes you choose a photograph.
Yeah, dude.
Very climactic ending.
Tearing up thinking about it.
And my choice was a photograph I took of a lady eating a hot dog.
Yeah, and mine was Noctis holding a really big leaf next to his head.
Yeah.
Super good while wearing a sombrero.
Oh my God.
And like the king is crying or whatever, and he's like, oh, this leaf. I remember looking at this leaf with the sombrero. It was so meaningful to me.
As a quick aside, before that was Final Fantasy 15. When that game was still Final Fantasy versus 13, that trailer went hard as fuck.
Yeah.
And we need to get back to that shit. Because even with all the edgelordiness of Final Fantasy 16, nothing has gone as hard as that Somnus trailer. Anyway.
I don't know. I feel like in a fight between Final Fantasy and 13, Final Fantasy's the clear winner. Yeah,
it's true. That's true.
Right.
Anyway, I think the ideal time to buy a game is when you want to play it.
Yeah, and
just
also
budget yourself around that, and don't buy a million games. Just buy.
You just got to use Frank Cifaldi's patented method of free video game rental.
Well, no. Oh, okay, yeah, that's fair. I did that for PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
I buy games.
If you want there to be more games like it, then buy it at launch. That's what I do with the Yakuza games. That's what I do with the like Personas and the Metaphor Refantasios of the world. It's like, okay, got to put my money where my mouth is. If I can afford it, I'm buying it at launch.
I just play so few games a year that like I just don't even look at the price tag.
I don't buy games, so I'm abstaining from this question in full.
Yeah, that's fine. You're buying games by investing your entire life in a system that hates you.
Yeah.
You're spending way more than me.
Yeah, you're paying the highest price of all.
When you put it like that, Jesus.
Yeah. Okay. Here's my next question. Which video game fandom has the highest barrier of entry?
There is a correct answer to this. Hold on.
What has the highest barrier of
Which
entry?
video game fandom has the highest barrier of entry?
Oh.
My off-the-cuff answer is Kingdom Hearts, because I feel like if you're in that fandom, you know the lore, and anyone who's new, you're probably like really mad at them for being new.
Can I just say that anybody who says, actually, the Kingdom Hearts lore is really easy to understand, you are full of fucking shit.
Yeah.
Go to hell. No, it's not.
It's
the only person
not.
who's ever said that is a person in the community who's mad.
But I don't think that it has the highest barrier of entry because you
Goofy's
have
in it.
You have a fast track to knowing who the characters are because Disney.
No, we're
has
talking about
been,
fandom, not playing the game.
Yeah.
Like fandom, I think implies being a part of a fan community, and
Right,
interacting.
but you could be a fan of Goofy already, and that makes it. You don't have to learn who the characters are in order to be fans of them, which could then segue easily.
Fans and fandom, I think, is different, though. You're talking about two different things.
It is, but it couldn't be the most if everybody already knows who it is. Like it has.
Okay, you're saying that's something that like you have. There's no point of comparison at all. It's its own thing. It's
Right.
harder
Yeah.
than-
World
Yes,
of
that's what I'm
Warcraft,
saying.
there's no outside barrier of entry unless you already know World of Warcraft.
Yeah, it's so I'm saying it would be something something lore dense that doesn't have outside accessibility to it. So, like the Toho universe or something.
Yeah, that is opaque.
Yep. That's
That
a
is
good one.
walled garden.
Yeah, it's just like, who are all these little gothic lolitas?
Yeah.
I don't know. A bunch of little witches floating around doing something.
Yeah, I don't know how to get into Toho. There's got to be something there. People love it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Toho was like Godzilla.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Toho without U's after it.
That's the American Toho. We're talking about the British Toho.
That's right.
Oh my God.
Toho. Yeah, Toho, the Japanese doujin phenomenon.
Yeah.
It's created by a guy named Zune, and it was a series of vertically scrolling bullet hell shooters. But it evolved into a cottage industry because he allowed others to make games using his characters as long as they fit certain rules, and I think paid a little dividends. And so there's like Metroidvanias, there are full 3D RPGs, there are visual novels, there are all kinds of things surrounding. They're like full fan albums, dozens, like maybe hundreds of them. Lots of games in the Toho universe across all kinds of different platforms and formats and genres. And I couldn't name one of the characters in it.
I know shrine maidens are involved at some point. That's about the extent of it.
Yeah, they're in there.
Like there's some kind of Shintoist connection, tenuously.
Yeah, I think so. I can't think of anything. Toho's a good answer, so.
Yeah, that might be it. That might be the canonical one.
I mean, I can't do better than my answer because that guy was really mad at me.
Here's something I've been thinking about. What do you think the ratio is at this point of great 2D games to great 3D games?
Gah.
Which is there more of?
Well, it's gotta be 3D.
2D?
I think it's gotta be 3D because there's more 3D games than 2D games at this point.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Considering the vast majority of video game history has been 2D up until the PlayStation?
Yeah, but they were making a lot fewer games at that time.
Yeah, there's more games per console now, but I don't know if it's necessarily there's more 3D than 2D, but I think greatness, evolves with the times. I think things that we would have considered great in the 90s can be considered not great now. Yeah. And so I feel like greatness is weighted toward more recent history, and therefore I'm going to go 3D because I think most great games in the last 20 years were 3D.
Yeah, I prefer a lot of 2D games, I think, in general, but game design has evolved. UI design has really evolved, and 3D games are the ones that are mostly pushing that, and 2D games are delving into like fractals and derivations of the past a lot of the time. Sometimes they're pushing new stuff, but so often during the history of games from the 90s to today, new design and new gameplay got pushed by technological innovations. It's like, okay, we have breakable physics now, and so what kinds of games can we do with that? We have ray tracing. What can we actually do with that does anything? The answer is nothing really.
I was going to say, with ray tracing, not much.
Yeah. Physics, speed tree, water fluid simulation. Fluid simulation, there's some 2D stuff. But since innovation has so often been pushed by technology, 2D technological innovations have kind of stalled and stagnated, I would say, after adding more frames and transparency. And so many of the things that innovated in 2D were steps toward trying to make 3D, like superscalers, I'll say that word again. Mode 7 on the Super Nintendo, rotation, scaling, all these things were in service of getting toward 3D. So yeah, like to the average game player of today, it's got to be 3D, I think. Love those 2D games though.
Yeah, I mean, you're not making a 3D game.
I think there's a lot of innovation in 2D still. And it's probably because of creativity within constraints. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Like
lower barrier of entry.
Things continue pushing boundaries and doing interesting new things more than I tend to see in 3D, honestly. But we're not talking about innovation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good point. Yeah, I was going to say like innovation or in 2D games is more about what the game can do versus like, the technical specifications. Thinking about, the Return of the Obra Dinn or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just 3D.
Yeah. Yeah, Obra Dinn's 3D.
Obra Dinn's 100% 3D.
Yeah, that's a 3D space.
Yeah, there's nothing 2D about it.
Fine.
Okay,
Fine.
3D
the
wins.
Play date.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of 3D on the Playdate too these days. Interesting.
Okay.
I'm just going to stop talking.
With that, I think it's time to go on to our lightning round. This is going to be a simple 3-minute round, a game I like to call Questers Fest. What I want you to do is pitch me the best game you can by switching around some of the letters in the title of an existing game. You have 3 minutes.
Here we are in Portmantopia.
Yeah.
You're not giving us names.
No. You have to come up with them yourself.
What?
You have to think about video games.
What?
Well, okay, well, I've got Fester's Quest on the brain now, so let's just go Master Blaster. What do you think? That's what everyone thought Blaster Master was. What if we just made it real?
Yeah.
I am not prepared for something like this.
Yeah, this is complicated, but
yeah.
Okay. Oscar 120% ferning best. You have to grow the nicest ferns. It's not Burning Fest. It's ferning best.
That's good.
Yeah.
This is completely unfair because I have no brain right now. I was up at 6:30 to make sure that I was suited and booted at 8 a.m. this morning. Damn it. This is too much. Okay. Cario Mart instead of
you're buying cars.
Yeah. You have to sell cars. You have to make your quota on a used car lot, and you have to sell to monsters or some shit with increasingly restrictive parameters.
No, now you're playing Questers Fest.
Yeah.
God.
All
right. Fang of Kiters. This is a British kiting game. So
it's a thing of kiters in it.
Yeah, you buy one thing of kiters, and then you go out and fly a kite around.
Brandon, for those of you who aren't watching the YouTube, Brandon is looking around the room for video games.
I'm literally looking at my own cabinet. And
I'm not going to explain it because it's really self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Wad of Gore.
Oh, that's good.
I was going to say, damn it.
I've said Wad of Gore so many times.
It's like World of Goo, but bloodier, I imagine. Mm-hmm. Like World of Goo meets Super Meat Boy.
Yes.
Has it not been 3 minutes?
Okay. No,
yeah,
I got one.
It's been 2 minutes.
A lot, bro.
A lot, bro?
Yeah. Your job as a therapist to rehabilitate these super bro-y assholes who have any number of psychological or narcissistic problems. And you're a lot, bro.
Balatro is a lot, bro.
I feel like you could just call it Wall and Bunderworld and no one would know the difference.
That's true.
No, same game.
I don't want to say this one, but Siemens Dolls.
Oh, no. We've gone on too long. I have to sound the buzzer. All right, that's our episode. I'm giving the victory to Ash Parrish for her incredible performance as the overbearing guild leader. Congratulations on defeating your very first improv zone.
Good memorphizing.
May it be the first of many.
No, may it not. Let's not do that again.
All right. Does anyone have anything they'd like to recommend to our listeners at this juncture of our audio program?
Yeah, I found out recently, you ever have this thing where there's a band you like and then they don't release any music forever?
Yeah.
And then you just happen to go check on them, and they have now released 3 things in the last 3 years, even though it was 20 years in between. That's real fun when that happens. And that happened to me recently with a band called Lowrider. Lowrider is a Swedish stoner rock band. Their first album is called Ode to I.O., the letters I.O., and they have 3 more things now. Well, they have 2 more things now. They're both good. All 3 of them are on Bandcamp. If you like Swedish-style desert stoner rock, which is a very specific thing, but if you're into it, check it out. I think it's pretty cool, and yeah, since it's all on Bandcamp, you can just go ahead and have their whole discography. Very easy. Yeah, I started listening to them in 2000-ish when their first album came out, and then I was like, I wonder what they're up to. Oh, they released an album in 2019, almost 20 years later. It's wild. That's what I got.
I'll recommend, if you want to have any idea where, if you live in the United States anyway, where this country is headed, or to have an idea of what it looks like, what we potentially might have in our future, go listen to the History of Rome podcast. It's a very old podcast by a historian, Mike Duncan. He goes over like the history of Rome. Pay particular attention to everything about right around the late Republic to right up around, I don't know, you could probably go into like Marcus Aurelius, like the end of the Golden Age, and particularly the episodes about like Julius Caesar and like popular demagoguery and all of that stuff is like, ooh, that sounds uncomfortably familiar. So everything old is new again, and yeah, hopefully we don't get any Antonine plagues coming, but we did have one in the past. The same time this stupid dude was our president, so maybe that's coming back too. Hope not.
Yeah, well, if we make vaccines illegal, perhaps we'll get that.
Yeah,
God. But it's actually really, really, really startling when you like listen to like the late Republic stuff and what those dudes were getting up to, and like the way that they were like mobilizing their followers and the kinds of things that they were enacting. Like Donald Trump is what if Julius Caesar was really fucking stupid. Yeah, it's bad. So yeah, that's the only thing that I got for you.
But don't some of these guys also like have avatars that are like statues of those older guys?
Oh yes, very much so.
Yeah, they do. They're like taking all the wrong lessons from it.
Yeah, the Ritaverns, the Ritaverners.
The Ritaverns, yeah.
I don't know. I recommend not being that guy.
Yeah, that's a good one. Don't be that guy.
I have one more thing, which is maybe the day after or 2 days after this episode comes out, I should hopefully have a California fire relief bundle up on itch.io.
Oh, yeah.
Currently, as of recording, we're still getting entries from developers. It'll be too late for that by the time you hear this. But yeah, putting together a bundle to help with the big fires in Southern California. And it's the proceeds are going to go toward the California Fire Foundation, which gives direct relief to people whose houses burned down, but also grants toward rebuilding those affected communities. So when it's up there, check it out. Buy a bunch of games. There's a lot of good stuff in there already. There's going to be even more by the time I'm finished. And yeah, share it and spread it around. I'll probably have 2 podcasts worth of recommending this one, but there's my first one.
Well, I've only got a really dumb one.
Yeah.
After all that.
Good.
If you got cats and they got zoomies and you got a little bit of space in your house, I got mine basically a hamster wheel for cats from a company called One Fast Cat. And it's one of those things where you see it online and you're like, there's no way they actually use that. They do totally use it. Every morning they just go and they just like run in their hamster wheel for a minute and then like just get whatever that is out. It's very funny.
You got to post a video of that somewhere.
I should post a video of that somewhere. I've never gotten a good one because you start the video and they're like, yeah, I'm done.
Yeah. I'm being perceived.
But it's really fun to watch them. Like, because I got 2 cats. Like Taffy has this like very nice panther-like gait as she's running. And then Corndog has like a floppy puppy one. Like, so you get to see the difference between them.
Is Corndog a male?
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, if you got room, and it sounds fun to you, it actually does work, at least on my cats.
There is something I want to talk with you all about at the end of this episode. We're recording this on the day that we lost one of the greatest directors in American history.
DL?
Yeah. I know.
David Lynch.
Frank, if I think of any game as like your insert credit video game. It's Deadly Premonition, which took a huge amount of cues from Lynch's work. And I just think it would be appropriate for us to talk about like just a little bit about what David Lynch meant to us. And like maybe if people aren't familiar, like what to check out.
Yeah, well, to me, he represents someone who is very much themselves. They're 100% themselves and no other person. And I think that's probably the best compliment I can give somebody, is that they are entirely themselves. And when you become someone that people have to refer to in order to describe something, then you've really got something. Because we talk about things being Lynchian or whatever, and it's like that's just a guy, that's just a human being, and we have to call things similar to something that he did. And his work can be challenging, it can be annoying, it can be obtuse, and it can be, to many people, incredibly boring. But I find it interesting if I'm ready to engage in that headspace. And I like Eraserhead as a place to start because it's odd, but with a purpose, it feels. And it sort of introduces you to the idea of jumping between like thought processes and stuff. I like Mulholland Drive. I like a lot of his movies. I like that Dune movie that he made, even though it's just a straight up and down regular movie. It's just a movie. His shorts are really interesting and strange and kind of sometimes disturbing. But yeah, I guess if you want, I would describe his work like more than the off the wall goofiness or baddiness of it. It's kind of like a mental labyrinth, I would say. It's got a labyrinthine, what is happening? Can you figure this out? And at the end, maybe you can't, but you still feel like you got something out of it, unless you think it's boring, in which case you won't. Yeah.
I don't think I have too much to add. For me personally, like I've more or less enjoyed everything that I've interacted with of his, but it's never been something like important to me, you know? What I think is more of a takeaway for me as I think about him is what Brandon said, which is that like he was a real one and he created something that's specifically his, you know, it's like Dickensian or whatever, you know what I mean? It's like this is Lynchian, and like that's a pretty rare thing. It's something that I can kind of conjure, but it would, you know, I'd have to really concentrate to even describe what something sort of Lynchian is to me.
Yeah.
I appreciate that he was here and he did some weird stuff. And if there's a takeaway, it's just make whatever you want to make and just do it.
It's like that meme you see going around of like, what will help your art the most is to be some kind of freak or pervert, and it doesn't matter what kind, as long as you are one. Sorry, what were you going to say, Ash?
No, that was not what I was going to say. I'm going to go.
No, I was saying, what were you going to say?
Of the assembled illustrious guests, I'm probably the one with the least amount of David Lynch knowledge, in that I have no David Lynch knowledge. The only thing of his that I have ever seen is the Dune movie, and that was only after I had consumed like the 2 Denis Villeneuve movies and like read like the first 3 books. Wasn't a bad movie. I liked it. It was fine. But the one thing,
that's the one that he took his name off of for like 20 years. He refused to have it associated with him.
Oh, I didn't think it was all that bad. I thought it had some cool interpretations of the things that, you know, Mr. Herbert was writing about. But the one thing that I can say that I do know about him, the one thing that sticks with me is that one little, I don't know if it was like if it was in Twin Peaks or the new Twin Peaks show, which I have never seen, but it's him and he's talking to a trans person and he's like, and when you became Denise, I told those clowns like, fix your heart or die. And I'm like, okay, that's all if I know nothing else about this man, I know that about him. And that is a guy that I want to know, or that is a guy who seems like he's a good person to know. And that I don't need nothing else from him. I know that. Perfect.
Very good.
Fix your hearts or fucking die.
To you, I might recommend The Elephant Man, which is like a very straight movie of his, another straight one, but it shows a kind of a heart, I guess, to it that would persist throughout his other perhaps stranger work. But I really like Inland Empire.
Yeah.
I lament that I am now spurned to do this after this person has passed and wasn't able to like celebrate his work while he was still alive. But yeah, like
That's okay. I mean, it lives on anyway.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Mulholland Drive has been recommended to me, as has the Elephant Man. But relevant to this podcast, he did a PlayStation 2 commercial, like "Welcome to Third Place."
That's true.
Right.
Pretty cool from the little bit that I saw of it. So
yeah. All right. My recommendation is Mulholland Drive. I think that's the best way to get a sense of what he was about in one movie. If you're not going to watch a season and a half of Twin Peaks, which I did. It's a good time, but it's a slow time. But yeah, go ahead and watch Mulholland Drive if you haven't seen it. I have some other recommendations. I'd like to recommend that if you enjoyed this episode of Insert Credit, that you rate and review our show on iTunes, on Spotify, on any platform where you can find us that will help drive it to other people's perceptive. I'm off script here. All right. If you enjoyed this or any episode of Insert Credit.
You see what Improv Zone's like, buddy?
It's bad. If you enjoyed this episode of Insert Credit, just rate and review us wherever you can. You could also support us directly with your contributions to patreon.com/insertcredit. If you'd like to sponsor our show with an advertisement or personal message or submit your own horrible buzzer, you can email show@insertcredit.com. You can also join our community at forums.insertcredit.com or find us on youtube.com/insertcreditshow. To support our individual endeavors, you can wishlist Demon School on Steam, go to the Video Game History Foundation, subscribe to The Verge, or listen to my comic book podcast, 52 Pickup. This episode was edited by Esper Quinn with music by Kurt Feldman. This week's buzzer by Dave Lanke. I'm Alex Jaffe.
I'm Frank Cifaldi.
I'm Ash Parrish.
I'm Brandon Sheffield.
And your game has now been saved.
Nice. We done did it.
We done did it, and it only took us like 70 minutes. I think we have become the kings and queens of this format.